think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not.
Grandpa in a while since he came back on the scene and most recently was convicted of sexual abuse. I like he's getting treated like Johnny Depp in the British media. Johnny Depp. What were you saying? It was like noted wife beater.
yeah, notorious wife beater. Like they'll just use any chance they get.
Yeah, the media was doing that too, and you'd Google it because they said that like he could be classified as a sexual predator directly, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's so then like just labeling him Donald Trump's sexual predator is just a nice way to pad your article.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I don't know, I'm not sure it furthers the discourse, but I appreciate it. It's finally something that brings us closer to the truth.
Yeah, whenever the media is like, we don't have to say alleged anymore, or just like, the total confidence to take that. It's not even a cheap shot, but like just like to put it in the headline where you're just like swinging. That's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, but now as we were saying, my name for him is a little too much of a mouthful now. Noted sexual abuser, racist grandpa. Quite the like a collection of adjectives and descriptors. Truly a unique species. And like the worst part is like this isn't really gonna. I'm not confident that this is gonna have any effect on anything, which is not shocking to me, but also shocking.
Yeah.
Considering being a sexual predator in normal life, you're convicted. You're a raper. You're so like being that you're a raper. Typically, in normal human interactions, like working somewhere or engaging with children or running for president or something, that should derail you. That should put a stop to everything. But I don't know, because of how far astray his fan base has gone. I'm gonna just call them his fan base because you're not a valid group of voters. You're just pieces of shit. So. Like if that's what you're up to, I mean, like if that's what you're like, if you're gonna and then like the only justification, I think the only ground you'd have to stand on would be to try to like demystify that conviction and say that there's a conspiracy in it, which is just the typical the typical icing on any Donald Trump cake is to just blame something on a conspiracy.
Yeah. Sadly, very effective.
Yeah, it's more evidence towards
super
that for
effective.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, these fucking kangaroo courts, man. I don't know, like unfortunately, it is a tactic to bring up these sorts of charges against your political adversaries in many countries around the world, or similar tactics, so it's an easy story to sell for individuals who feel like the deep state controls CNN and all that shit. Not that that's at the center of, anyway.
Well, James, you shared that article too about the use of like the phrase corporate consumer or corporate communism, like in conservative circles, where it's like, just because Facebook is an example of like, it's no, you don't pay for it. They have total control and they can just bring down the hammer on you anytime they want. Like it's just this, even though it's completely absurd to direct that a private corporation is communist, like it's just they just use these terms for whatever they want to say.
Yeah, they're bad. Just like they just empower the phrase to put like negative connotation on things. And like meanwhile, like we're basically just living in a new slave world. We're corporate slaves. Our wages have been depressed. Our jobs have been funneled down a little shitty river, and our affordability and ability to buy homes and educations has been stifled. And that's what corporations wanted. Our elected governments are a fucking sad sack joke. It's like a puppet show. That's not of any use to anyone. And that's that to me, that feels a lot like horrific late stage capitalism, or even I would call it akin to communism already. But then that to say anything negative about capitalism just is the wrong way to go if you're American. You just don't understand. You're just not smart enough to get rich yourself.
Well, that's true. We aren't. Let's be fair to ourselves, or fair to them.
Yeah. Be Elon Musk if you want to, you know.
Yeah. Starting with a fortune is the best way to make a fortune.
Well, that's what I learned. He who has or shall be given. There was a lot in that. There's a lot to agree with too. I don't know, it's not like I'm not nitpicking. I guess I'm trying to dig in at what it is. There is okay, we can say there's an aristocracy. There is a new aristocracy that is amassing itself, its riches, and it exists and it has their large factories. It's like we're talking about the barons of the 19th century.
We just watched our grocery store baron laugh his way through our House of Commons.
Yeah.
Because we're pathetic pieces of shit, and then pay himself double.
Yeah, good move. Did he pay himself? I don't know. Sorry.
He did. Yeah, his salary went from $4 million to $8 million.
Oh, smooth. There we go. That's cheap. That's cheap.
That's not bad. I know but yeah.
Yeah. It's a good example. We're talking about Loblaws, right?
Yeah.
So here in Canada, I don't know if they have penetration in the United States, but funny thing about Loblaws that I hadn't really much considered is not, I suppose until a couple of years ago, is they're in banking, they're in drugs, they're in groceries, and one of the most sort of terrifying things about them is the way in which they have not just consolidated all of that, but consolidated in such a way as to control the amount of information that they are one of Canada's largest information brokers. I don't know if they broker information. I don't know what the phrase I'm looking for is. That they're the equivalent of a Google or an Amazon, but Canada's version. And they rake in astronomical profits and just by the feint of their existence, are the 500-pound gorilla of sort of the Canadian economy. There's lots of other contenders to that. I don't pretend to know all the ins and outs of our own barons, because some of them, the Irvings or whatever, you don't even really hear much about them. And even though they control much of the media in the East Coast and whatnot, they're just regional barons, fiefdoms, that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't think I think that this is common to any sort of free market scenario. And the first thing that happened in the 80s and even in the 70s was an attempt to get rid of any regulation that was installed in order to just get the good times rolling again, get things back the way they used to be. And anyway, that's kind of far afield from racist grandpa being a rapist or a sexual abuser, but he's the man.
It's not far. It's not far afield from that.
What is not far from that?
The different kinds of predators.
Different predators. That's right. Yeah, like the 1987. Who's this? What's the director's name? John McTiernan. Also directed Die Hard. And Die Hard 3.
No shit, eh?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
he's our man.
Got a resume.
He's also got a hell of a rap sheet. Yeah, we could have also transitioned to talking about John McTiernan, who spent some time in a federal penitentiary for illegally wiretapping some of his Anyway, hiding taxes, lying to the FBI, real character.
Nice.
I found myself reading through his Wikipedia,
Jesus.
thinking to myself that there's a biography on this guy somewhere, and I'm going to read it because he brought it. So anyway, Predator. I already said, I think 1987. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers. Don't forget, man. Yeah, you got
He
yourself
got top billing, or at least he's listed first.
right. And it should.
As well he should.
Yeah,
I think they were leaving the best for last, just like when Dutch got off the airplane.
that's right.
I like how everybody. So, okay. First of all, my name's James.
I'm also James.
There we go.
And I'm Chris.
And this is the Extinction Agenda. I don't know if I said that already. So, hey Chris, you've seen this movie, right? Like you must have.
Oh yeah, tons of times. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know, I sounded really defensive there, but yes, I have seen it quite a few times.
Yeah, I'm a man. I wasn't sure. Like I know, obviously, this is a classic, and but I just wasn't sure what your mileage on it was.
Yeah, this was like one of my early trauma movies. Actually, my dad called me down to the basement when I was like 7 years old, and he's like, "Chris, come watch Predator with us." And that scene where they're like hanging upside down, all skinned, I was like terrified of that. So they let me go back upstairs.
Oh,
but you know what? I fucking kicked the habit, and I gloriously have watched this movie many times since.
Very good. I picked up the habit, I guess, is more.
Yeah, that'd be a more accurate way of saying
it. I watched this too when I was 7 because I'm like without parental guidance, without like I remember being at a sleepover and the kid just put on the movie and we were watching it and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, nothing ever good happens at a sleepover.
Yeah. I just again I can't imagine what was going through our parents' head when we were kids. Like the number of movies that I watched were wildly inappropriate. I thank them for it, and I hope to follow their footsteps as a father. I do my best to sneak it by, You
can only hope to live up to the legacy, but
yeah. Well, I just need to be irresponsible. That's the trick. Just really, really trusting in the media. How many times do you think you've seen this movie, James?
Sorry.
Oh.
I was coughing up a hairball there. Me? I don't know. Once a month, maybe.
Wow.
Since 1986. Excuse me.
All right. Well, then,
I don't know. A lot.
Yeah, no, it's fair. You feel kind of stupid saying, I've probably seen it hundreds of times. I can't imagine we've seen it hundreds of times.
No, maybe not.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like hundreds would be impossible because I mean, like that's got to. Then you would really be watching it once a month for several decades. And even then, I don't think
I put it down every year for sure.
Yeah, that's fine. Like a cool dozen, like couple. If you're counting in terms of dozen. Not that it's like some sort of weird contest or anything. I don't know why I'm going on.
No,
about
it's not. It's not.
No,
it's not.
It's not.
It's a weird movie. It's
yeah. So watching it this time, I've never liked this movie as much as I liked it this time. Because I was, as always happens when it's time for us to talk about it, something you end up paying attention in a way that you don't normally pay attention. And I was like, this movie has everything.
I think that happens on here a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Like I really picked up on the score this time. I don't know if you guys...
that's the Sylvester score. Yeah, man.
What did you think of the score?
Like just that they blended so there's sort of a giddy upping like drum tempo, like a military, like there's that sort of music playing. There's basically like a fucking like a tropical bird track, like jungle sounds, woo 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 woo, monkey sounds, shit going on. So that's like, and that's like blended in with the music. It's almost like a month in the Brazilian rainforest soundtrack, like a nature soundtrack running in conjunction with these military tempos. And then there's like a full orchestra tap in that they escalate scenes with. And then they do sort of like this little swamp boogly music, like a like I don't know, I can't hard to describe. But
it's got like a tribal thing, like it's sort of reminiscent of like African drum beats or something like that.
Yeah, and then they'll shamelessly go dead silent.
Yeah.
It's odd. It's odd.
There's some...
if you really pick up on it.
Yeah, I was listening. I kind of noticed it too, and my sense was maybe a little, like even a little cheesy at times. Like where there's one particular moment when they first reveal the predator's clawed hands as it's tracking, and it just does the whole like classic like like just like this real, like standard horror beat.
Yeah, well, there's that sci-fi sound too from his like shitty technology from that grainy infrared vision.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how
I love that though.
How does that alien species? How did it survive? Because like when it takes off the mask, I can't imagine anyone listening to this requires us to like actually give context to this movie.
No.
Man, yeah. If you're
yeah, when he takes off the mask, and everything turns kind of blue and he can hardly see, it's like, is this guy nearsighted? Like is there an entire race of monsters like this? Like how do they operate?
That's a really good question. Like did they have to design technology in order for them to become alpha predators? Otherwise they're just kind of, But then they're really smart too. So I guess that, like they're spacefaring. Like that's not nothing.
No, exactly. Like there's so much about like the Predator as a concept is great. This movie it's often commented on as like a military. It's like a merging of two genres, or maybe even three. There's obviously the sci-fi elements and there's the military elements, but then, as often has been recognized, like a slasher comes in. Like all of a sudden, it's like Jason shows up, and we see from the perspective of Jason, only it's all infrared and it's like, and all the repetition that he does. Like the soundscape of this movie is just so wild.
Yeah.
And shit, I lost the thread of I lost the thread there. Oops. Soundscape? No, before the soundscape, we were talking about the various genres, and it was I think that like that's one of the things that makes this so great. Like it's visually interesting. Like there's a lot of tension built up. You don't see the predator vision for like 18 minutes. And then they intersperse it, and then they have like a bunch of psychedelic shit, and it just cuts back and forth between sort of your typical action adventure military movie to a horror movie to a sci-fi movie to a chase movie. Even
that works hard. Like even the military piece though works hard for I've seen a lot of war movies, a lot of military movies too, a lot of cheesy military movies also, like exaggerated stuff. But this does like something weirdly like in between. Like it feels, I want to say it feels militaristically accurate, or in a way, like it feels like I'm experiencing. That I'm experiencing this touted after team. Like this is the best fucking team. These guys are beyond Green Berets. These guys are last resort. These guys are like a real Black Ops team. And then that's expressed in movement. That's expressed in like weapons loadout. It's expressed in tactics. It goes above and beyond the cheese. Because we could have just done this cheese. We could have had like fuck this, but they make an effort to disperse tactically, to converge with Dutch, to use military call signs, to attack quietly when necessary. So it's weird in that they're even making any kind of an effort to do any type of military accuracy.
Yeah.
And it gives it this little extra special oomph. I don't know. And maybe that's just me.
No, they're a team of superheroes, really, and like I think you need that too. Like it it increases the threat or the prestige of the predator that it can take down these guys with relative ease. And, except for Dutch, of course.
Even Dutch would have been fucked. Like he gets lucky, and figures out, like the very obvious way of dealing with this thing. And also like the setting, like they're in a real jungle. Like this was a fucking nightmare scenario for these actors. And that goes a long way too. Like you really feel it. Like they're somewhere. And yeah, like they're sweating. They're in like thick bush. It's like
they're sweating. They're slapping bugs. It's true. And Chris, I agree with you too on that superhero take too. It's like it's established really strongly, especially with that first attack on the camp. Like these guys dismantle that fucking camp.
I
which
love that.
The old hilarious classic lines come into play. We're a rescue team.
Stick around.
We're not assassins. As they assassinate everybody with great ease. And then they're cracking jokes and they roll out. That's it.
Yeah.
They killed probably 50, 60 people.
Arnold lifts a fucking truck and then sends it careening into like the base camp, and it explodes with the guy. So that like there's so many people just running around on fire in that scene. It's kind of fucking hilarious.
And they're also like, it's also established, I feel like too, that they see the predator. Not just one of them. Like these guys are like highly trained. Like a couple of them pick up on it as they're going, and they just can't pin it down.
Yeah, like later, like obviously there's Billy who due to his Aboriginal background is attuned to the hunter in a sort of mystic way, but we can put that aside for him.
Hey.
But no, later on, I'm looking at the scene where Mac and Dylan are hunting the predator. They see him in a tree, and they're trying to sort of outflank him. Like once they realize what the enemy is and because they're really at a disadvantage. Like one, they don't know what's out there because like who could possibly have guessed that there was a hyper sophisticated invisible alien out there, like that's crazy. But
that's attacking them from treetops.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah. So once they figure it out, though, like they do attempt to deal with it, but they still don't have enough information to do it properly. Like this might have worked against any other human, but not the predator.
Yeah, I appreciate that they have like they're smart in that, like you're saying, like they have investigative skills. They're kind of piecing things together. They improvise. They come up with just tactical plans on the fly. Like you really get a sense that, like you said, they're just kind of like the best, and like they're working on it.
Like you even get that in the camp too, the investigative piece where they go through and old Major Dutch doesn't have to do much. He just sort of assesses the scenario and makes sure that they're on track. And then it's not Hawkins that reports back to him. I can't remember his name.
With all the paper? Poncho?
Yeah. Poncho gets back to him like 2 or 3 times, and basically like he has Dylan's entire fucking scenario all flushed out by the time he slams him against a post or whatever.
Yeah,
sold us out.
Yeah, although it's not really that hard. Like I agree with you, but it's it's not that hard to piece together. Like when you show up there and there's Soviet intelligence agency agents and that kind of thing. Like
but he had a great amount of detail, I feel like.
Yeah, no, and even Billy early on, like with his magical powers, is able to like there were 10 people and they were using American military boots, and like an impossible amount of detail is garnered just by reading the leaves, like literally.
Yeah. No, that I mean that tracks.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. And get to the superhero thing, like when they get off the airplane, they are all dressed like the weirdest fucking misfit. even Jesse Blaine, like he's wearing an MTV shirt throughout this entire movie, which you don't like, and that's so strange. Like it's a very cool thing for him to be wearing, and he is so uncool. Like I would never want to be in a room with that guy. He's seems like
He's a goddamn sexual Tyrannosaurus. Though.
Listen, that's kind of pussy talk, you know.
Well, that actually on that point, like this begins with like a solid 15 minutes of macho posturing, and it's pretty amazing. Just like they're all smoking cigars and just flexing and like just calling people pussies and faggots and all that shit, you know, like
literally making pussy jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where the epic handshake meme comes from. Like the Carl Weathers, Arnold, and like that. I was looking at the gif of that, and like just the sweaty, glistening arms and like the contraction. Like this movie loves the male body.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that about Zack Snyder, James, a few recordings back, but like this movie, like even when Arnold's crawling up to that base, like the camera's tracking him and like just like lingering on his ass, like it's all over the place.
Yeah, no, and this was a quality of movies in the 80s that and definitely a quality of Arnie movies. Like you like the talk is that this movie is coded pretty queer, and I can see it, but like there's no more queer movie than Commando.
Maybe Commando's rough. Yeah. This also, I don't know if you guys track this, but there's a gear down as the movie comes to its climax.
What do you mean?
Like the guys lose clothing. Like Dutch is fully clothed.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's but it's like a strip tease, like a slow gear down. Like he comes down to the vest, and then all of a sudden the arms are bare, and you're like, oh, when did he lose his shirt? And he's got the tactical vest still on, but then the tactical vest kind of opens up a bit.
Yeah.
Get a little chest action, and then it kind of like it goes on. And the same thing, but Carl Weathers experiences the same type of like sexual gear down as well. Until we're dealing with a lot of topless guys. Billy too.
Yeah, Billy like
just watch Billy take it off.
The way he like cuts his chest is like all sensual too. Is like just calling to the predator.
Oh, when they do it, it's when they're setting up their booby traps. Because I was just like, yo, shit, you're right. When the fuck did that happen? But yeah, like at the 1 hour mark or so, like they've lost a hand at poker at that point. Everybody's Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Right. Yeah, you're right, James, though, that it is a slow unveiling of bodies, and I mean that's part of it. Like they're slowly throughout this movie, not just picked off, not just like they use all their bullets. They throw, Billy even throws away his gun, like just fuck it, all this technology, all these materials. I'm just like they're reduced to their most primitive state. Shirtless, nude, essentially wearing like a diaper at the end, and covered in mud and using a bow and arrow, in classic traps, and like where the alien, where the predator doesn't lose anything. Like he eventually does. He too strips bare.
He makes the choice though.
Yeah. He's like okay.
For excitement. Is what's interpreted. I mean,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the interpretation of Billy's reaction to the second big pussy joke?
When he starts laughing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to find meaning in that, but I
that whole thing is so weird. Like, and that's the only characterization that guy gets, like just telling these desperate attempts. Yeah.
Hawkins.
Hawkins.
The big pussy jokes about
desperate
his wife.
Attempts to get his teammates to laugh at these like off-color jokes that are just like weird.
Yeah, they were pretty funny. I mean, they were okay.
Yeah, I found them funny this time. I glossed over them. Just thought about if someone told me that joke, like I would just be like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'd shake my head, I think, and just be like,
you wouldn't be breaking that out at work or anything.
No,
not nowadays.
No,
you get canceled.
Yeah, they're in Guatemala, man. So anything goes. Like
that's right.
it is heartening that like so there is like a sort of like the masculinity that these guys portray is obviously super macho, but it's not like they're not like you might be able to prove me wrong. Definitely these jokes are sort of derogatory of women, but like they don't find them funny. They're like
exactly.
Like it's not the sort of talk that they truck in. It's not their bag. And so when getting back to your question about Billy, like it's that slow, exaggerated laugh. Like, is he faking? Is it like is he doing that to pass or something? Like, because
it's hard to say.
Yeah, yeah. Is that the echo joke? Is that the one where?
Yeah. We have to say it twice.
Yeah. I didn't. I don't know.
Yes.
It rattled around his head for a little bit, and then he was like, "Oh, I get it."
Because he gives the punchline at the end of all his jokes too, because they're so bad.
Yeah, he has to be like,
because it echoed. Because
yeah. But then it does echo. The cool thing about getting back to the soundscape, like the Predators, the way he repeats everything and slowly like takes on the characteristics, like the verbal characteristics or soundscape of his environment or its environment.
And then and then at the end actually strips down into his fishnets just like them.
Oh,
yeah.
Sort of amalgamates.
Yeah. I forgot it was fishnets. What a weird fashion choice. Like I love, like the Predator is such a great monster. Apparently we, looking through the Wikipedia, we owe James Cameron as inspiration for that because he was talking with Stan Winston on an airplane apparently, and he was like, you know what? I always wanted to see a monster with mandibles.
No shit, eh?
Yeah, and Winston was like, all right, great idea. I'm sure it's a little more complex than that.
But.
Yeah. Well, I remember I think we've talked about that in the past, but there was the grasshopper monster that Van Damme was originally playing that they canceled.
Yes. Yeah. Because he was like 5'6".
Yeah, and then like they revealed the monster to the cast and everyone. He's like, yo, you can't fucking use that. It's a grasshopper.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, shit, we have to go back to the drawing board. Even though we
amazing.
filmed half of this.
Luckily, he doesn't show up until the end, and you can easily get away with it.
Yeah. You can even see in some of the cuts with the camouflage on that it wasn't the same design.
Oh, neat. Oh, wow. Okay, I'll go back and look at that and think about that. Yeah, that's funny. Well, I guess that's they're fortunate. A lot of happenstance. Like just everybody came together on this one and just knocked it out of the park. It was the right time and the right place.
Yeah. Great scene too. You're ghosting us, motherfucker.
Oh yeah, I'll bleed you out. What does he say?
I'll bleed you. Leave you here quiet.
That's Mac, right?
I don't care who you are in the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was absolutely fascinated with Mac this viewing. Like I just think he's haunted, man. But like I would love a prequel. Just like that's a missed opportunity.
The Adventures of Mac.
Yeah. He's on edge like the whole time. Even like early in the camp, like he just like makes that little whistle and like stabs that guy through the neck, like all silent like.
When he shows up in a business suit, like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like
well, Bill Duke's an absolute beauty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you guys have never seen this movie, I'm willing to bet, but American Gigolo, the bad guy in American Gigolo is Bill Duke, and he's something to see in that movie.
Nice.
I have seen American Gigolo.
Oh well, fucking right, man. Well, maybe you know what I'm talking about.
Maybe I'm gonna have to go on a Bill Duke run after it to enhance my
Start with Commando.
Oh yeah, he's in that. I forgot. Shit.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are again from Wikipedia. I was like, oh wow, and they're also from Commando because apparently it was just supposed to be Arnie versus the monster, and they were like, well, that's not going to work. So they did a little bit of a rewrite and brought in all these extra guys. And
nice. Well, I'm going to say that I read an essay for this. It's called No Homo, John McTiernan's Predator, found online. I think it's pretty great. It actually takes, I think, a lot of cheap shots at like the overall interpretation of everything being gay, and that like funny on one hand, on the other hand, I don't like the idea that there's no space where men can have friendships that aren't sexual in nature. But whatever, it makes some great points on masculinity of this movie. And the one point I do kind of see it maybe is Mac and Jesse Ventura's relationship, because after Jesse dies, like he just gets completely unhinged, threatening to carve Jesse's name into the monster. Like,
well, again, he starts singing Long Tall Sally.
Yeah.
The Little Richard song, gonna have me some fun, gonna have some fun tonight, and he just and it's yeah. And I found myself thinking, like, what are these lyrics? Like, what am I didn't spend any time with it, but I was like, I wonder, like, is that like a love song? Is that like I'm gonna be fucking Sally tonight? Saw Uncle John with bald head Sally. He saw Aunt Mary coming and he ducked back in the alley. Oh baby, yes, well, what the fuck? This doesn't even make any sense. Having some fun tonight, yeah. Ow. All right, she's built for speed. She got anyway. So she's got everything John need. Oh baby, fantastic.
That's rough, for sure.
Yeah. So you're right though, and just watching him do that, like when he breaks down like that, gonna have me some fun. Like that's so. He's easily one of the most interesting characters in all of this.
That's the we're all gonna die man of this movie. He's like the Bill Pullman of this film. Great.
Chuck Dixon had a really great idea actually along these lines. Someone asked him in one of his Ask Chuck Dixon videos, which I've watched far too many of. Who's your favorite Arnie character, and like, would you ever want to write the further adventures of any of the characters? And he was like, I would love to write Dutch, the further adventures of Dutch, and he envisioned it as like a sort of a macho X-Files.
That's actually great. I would love that.
Yeah, I was like, that's a great idea. That's brilliant. You could just have him doing all these things. Like, I mean, after a while it would get pretty stupid. Like this is literally the adventure of a lifetime. Like, I don't know what Dutch does after this. Basically, he should retire as Earth's greatest champion.
Sue the government.
Yeah, it might be a good move. He's going to need to expose. I don't know. Like, they're going to disavow his existence for one, so he's going to end up stateless. He's a mercenary and a criminal.
Is he a criminal?
Well, they would paint him as one, wouldn't they? Like, if he shows up, the team's totally killed. He starts raving about aliens. They went there to engage with Soviet espionage. Mysteriously everybody dies and disappears, and there's no evidence of anything, and he's the only survivor. You don't think anybody's gonna like look at that a little funny?
That's true.
Suspiciously?
That does look pretty bad.
I don't think Dutch would talk.
No, well, he'd best not. But
he's got an eyewitness. But
where's he gonna go? Right? I guess that's my point. Like, he can't go back. He's gonna be on the run for the rest of his life.
Back to the jungles of Guatemala with his lady friend.
You can just stay there.
Yeah.
Be the king.
Get out of the chopper.
Yeah. That article is so badly written. It's just like every paragraph is like, and this. It's just but
Another great point it makes though is the just the prevalence of like large guns and like the extension of like that being phallic, which is very true.
It's true. Yeah, there's even like some like little cinematography bits, like when the girl first gets away.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. And they catch him, and he's like,
"Yeah, it's Poncho that catches her the first time around, and she's holding on to a log, and she looks up, and he's got his little machine gun between his legs, and it's just coming down like a dick right between his legs, and he's got that smirk on his face, and she even goes through the motions of doing the cross-eyed." It's a lot to take in if you're really given that little scenic chance. But
the chain gun.
Yeah. The chain gun.
I like that he takes it out of the zipper bag too. It's like he's undoing his fly.
Exactly. Yeah.
There it
And
is.
he's the
big one.
sexual Tyrannosaurus too, right? That's like, yeah,
It's all there.
That's intentional. And then again, like Mac like takes that on as soon as when he dies, like he picks up the chain gun and he's firing it into the jungle, you know, like they have that like insane unloading of ammo against the predator, like just like goes on for like a minute.
Yeah. I'm willing to accept, like, okay, I see everything you're saying. I'm not gonna, like, it's like that reading is so easy and plain to see. So I'm not denying any of it. But I want to, a different view is that, or a supplementary view is like this movie really likes guns. Like these guns aren't
That is also true.
exceptional. These guns aren't exceptional guns. Like it's an AR-15, it's a Heckler and Koch, and the only exceptional gun is the minigun. And then otherwise, we're just dealing like with really basic military hardware. But it's dealt with in such a way that it feels bigger, like it's really emphasized, which lends to these readings. And seeing someone with a minigun, of course, is very unusual. But they're such large men, like Jesse Ventura, like noted WWF wrestler Jesse Ventura is able to pull it off. But even like, yeah, those submachine guns, like the Heckler and Koch, is like they're not big guns. And I think in any other movie we would find them completely unremarkable and wouldn't even really comment on them. But it's just the way it's filmed. Just really, and I think that just subtly adds to what you were talking about, James, like the militaristic, like the illusion of realism that this movie gives, because it focuses so much on the equipment and you see it, you know. Usually it's kind of glossed over. Yeah,
it's true.
I can see that.
I found
So you're like a real Jesse the Body hater, eh?
Me?
Yeah.
Who?
No, Doc.
Oh,
Why would I hate Jesse? Like Blaine?
Yeah, no, I mean just that like Jesse Ventura himself.
I don't hate Jesse Ventura. How could I hate Jesse Ventura? I mean, like, I don't. You mean like as like I don't want to be in a room with him, so I guess that suggests I don't like him. But he's an incredibly tall man who's insane. I think that's just self-preservation on my part, you know.
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah, I'm just double checking on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he obviously has contributed to like conspiracy culture and that sort of thing in a way that I don't care for, but that's as American as apple pie at this point. So who gives a shit? I love him as a character. I kind of love all of them. The whole.
Well, who's your favorite?
Oh, right. Well, it's got to be Mac, I think. Although I did like the who is it? Shane Black, the Rick Hawkins telling the pussy jokes. I did enjoy that a little bit more than I really should have.
Yeah, I think
I like that. Oh, go on.
Oh, I
Yeah,
think
sorry,
Mac for me as well. But I do like Blaine. Just he has some of the best lines, you know. I ain't got time to bleed. Like that's
true.
You win me over.
You're in a world of hurt. Those are classic lines. But I feel like everybody got classic lines. I gotta go with Billy. Sure. I gotta say Billy's my guy.
Oh yeah.
You like the tracking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good opportunity to sort of seg into. I know you haven't watched Prey, Chris, but
no.
Basically I view Prey as like the franchises, like assuming that the franchise was like a conscious being who wished to apologize for its previous infraction. Prey strikes me as its attempt to do so, because it does, like I don't know enough about Aboriginal culture to know whether or not it did anything accurate, but I got the perspective that it was trying to be respectful of Aboriginal culture and show how like they would have dealt with the predator, you know, like, but of course they made it a little girl who did it, which is really unfortunate. But
my understanding is that they consulted like quite closely with indigenous people when making that movie.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Just the way it's presented, like it doesn't surprise me if that's the case. Yeah, I think that, like, and I don't like, but the thing is about Billy is like he's not actually he's offensive in sort of a stereotype way, but he's not really offensive beyond that. There's and I, like, not that I suppose being offensive in any way is enough, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is like he could have been so much worse. He
Yeah,
could
there's a
fire.
stereotype there, but he's highly confident. He's he's a dude there. He's doing his job. He seems like a cool guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just him and that nose. Well, and I think also that they talk about his nose. He's got hunches and stuff. Like it's not like.
Yeah. Well, I guess he does end in sort of like ritualized combat for no particular reason. I guess he's trying to buy the troops some time, but
yeah. Well, he prematurely enacts the final battle between Arnold and the Predator. Is his worst crime.
Yeah, I honestly I kind of interpret that as that, like, sort of at early on in the movie he has like foresight that they're not going to survive, that they can't beat it.
They might have been fine had they not gone into that valley. I thought about that, like, when going through this movie this time too. They're like, how do we get out of here? And like the only way out is through that valley. And so like basically the Predator has them in a hole, like in a
he's
dip.
at the high ground.
Yeah, and he just takes pot shots at them, and like so Billy knows to that extent right away that they're at a disadvantage, whether it's a predator or not, like yeah.
I thought about that too. Like, is that really sporting? Like, if you're like looking for an ultimate challenge, you're just like sitting there taking pot shots with your plasma cannon. I guess when you have like a bunch of troops, maybe he senses the competence of them and knows that he maybe has to thin him out a bit.
It's established in his first kill that he's willing to take shortcuts, though, because he waits for the girl to like separate them, and he picks off the first fucking guy he can.
That's true. Yeah.
Cheap and quick, and fucking bails into the bush.
Yeah, I think you're reading into it something that the movie doesn't actually portray, which is that like he's not the Predator. And actually, I'm glad we're getting into this because the motivation of the Predator is interesting to me. I don't think he's looking for the best, like the sport. He's one of those fuckers who goes hunting for an elephant with a gun at 500 feet, right?
I thought, yeah, like a poacher or something like that, just like collecting those trophies.
Yeah. Now, like why he's on a perpetual safari is unknown to me. Like,
maybe he's just like a rich asshole of like like an old British imperialist.
Well, he's not gonna take any unnecessary risks.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Why bother, man? Like he's just like, I was listening to Behind the Bastards on it was I don't know, it was an Eastern European like fucking dictator, and he would just go hunting, right? And he would basically like sit somewhere, and he wanted to fashion himself as a hunter, so he would just get like but if there was no one for him to shoot, he would get really upset. So the gameskeepers would, unbeknownst to the dictator, make it so that there was like a gazelles and shit like that. And so he'd always have something to shoot, and like but he didn't care, like he wasn't a hunter. This guy, the Predator, has every unfair advantage. He's invisible. He's got superior technology. He's got the infrared. He's got the high ground. Like there's nothing sporting about what he's doing. He just wants the trophy.
Yeah. In fact, arguably, I thought this was funny that like, while Arnold is preparing and like, like fashioning his bow, like flexing the wood, like doing it all himself, the Predator is just sitting there caressing his skulls. It's like there's a cycle of decadence, and he's reached the end of it, and it's time for survival of the fittest again.
Yeah, I suppose so. I remember once we had a conversation about the because I think the music implies something about the Predator, something tribal and primitive about him, and I don't think the movie really completely warrants it. But there is something about, like, even though he has all the things I described, and he's sort of aristocratic in a sense, but he's also sort of portrayed as this like primitive monster out there. Like everything about the movie wants to portray him as the primitive other, even though like there's so much to argue that he's not the primitive other. Well, he's the other, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that is true. I was just thinking too, like and I don't know if this is just an inconsistency, but like Arnold Dutch figures out or claims or maybe just misreads the situation, but when he tells the girl, like, he didn't come after you because you weren't armed, like you weren't sporting, you weren't sport.
Right. Yeah, well, he doesn't. Or maybe he just doesn't shoot women. But even then, that implies like a code of honor or like an like a chivalry to.
Yeah, that is totally possible.
Yeah.
Or misogyny or whatever. Like.
Yeah. It's like.
Yeah.
It is an assumption, and we're meant to like share Dutch's assumption, and it like it kind of makes sense. You get the impression that the screenwriter wants to, Dutch has authorial voice in that.
Yes.
You feel that way.
There's also like, I don't know if I do find it kind of like, now that I'm like thinking about it, infrared I don't think would work in that kind of heat at all. You certainly wouldn't be able to detect like human body heat in an environment that's the same temperature outside, basically.
Yeah, just be all. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and there's that legend that she says too, like it's always the hottest year that it comes, and ever since I was a girl, like this is something they've been going through for a while in Guatemala.
Yeah,
it's almost like they put their own pseudoscience on infrared just for the cool effect, but that's fine, I guess. I mean, that's no.
It's both a cool visual effect and an interesting story conceit. But yeah, you're right. I mean, like, you can poke holes in the infrared.
Nah, come on.
Like, Arnold covers himself in mud. You're like, what? You can't see inside his mouth anymore? His eyeballs are cold?
Or 35 seconds after the mud's on your overheated jungle body, it's the same temperature.
Yeah. So you just kind of put that aside, and that's
I'll buy that advanced technology.
Yeah, and it's being represented in some way. But like at least the movie has rules, and the bad guy, like the Jason, the killer, the slasher, there's rules attached to him, and so you can negotiate and deal with it, but they're just to a limited extent. Like if you follow those rules, you can denude him, and reduce the fight to its most primitive, basic form, but it doesn't allow you to defeat him. You still have to. This movie's kind of like Arnie is the final girl, and I think that's another thing that is wild about this movie. Just the position that Arnie, like, who is coded as like hyper masculine, is the final girl.
I mean, I'd say it was a leap, but like you said, it does have this slasher logic. It really does. There's even the unmasking of the creature, which is another thing that essay pointed out I hadn't thought about. But yeah, like it's a very conventional trope in the slasher films.
Yeah, and a great reveal. Like we're inside we spend so much. It takes so long for the predator to even have a body. And so what finally happens, it's like, it's not only is it invisible, it's ethereal, and then it starts to become material and more and more and more. And then we see it in its armor, and then we see it take off its clothes, and finally we see its face and its beautiful fishnets.
That's true, yeah. And then just striptease after striptease.
It's true, and I don't know if we really want to go here, but once we've fully exposed the most dominant male body, we expose ourselves to the vagina face.
Wow.
Right.
I do want to go there. Actually, I thought about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's too far, but
No, I think there's actually something about that for sure.
It's weird. I'm being taken in a lot of directions when it all happens.
Well, I think that's why this is a fucking classic. Like, there's, we were saying, James, when we earlier. Oh no, he's not all blue. It's all red when he takes off his mask. Like, there's no fat on this movie. Like, what would you get rid of? What could you possibly, what's deficient about it?
It's true. I mean, what a pace.
Maybe a minute of firing blindly at the predator, but other than that, that's a minor nitpick.
That's a good.
Some stock footage of guys getting machine gun at the beginning, but I feel like, again, like you were saying, Chris, at the start, there is a comedy aspect too. There is a camp that's deliberate. It's throughout. It's confusing,
but enjoyable at the same time.
Well, I just watched him punch the predator right now, and the predator like shakes it off and then like punches him like Laurel and Hardy, not like the Three Stooges. You're one ugly mother. Like, you don't need all of this, but like it. And the article that you pointed out, talking about Jesse the Body Ventura, like the queer elements there, like camp is an element of queer.
Yeah, it is.
And Jesse is, for all intents and purposes, like he's one of the village people, with his mustache or whatever, like he's the leather daddy of the group. And it is there. Yeah, there's just so many voices and images and thoughts that you could have in all of this, in what is a very simple movie. Like Cynthia asked me to describe it in 3 sentences, and then I did.
Yeah, what can we hear them?
Oh, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna. They weren't short sentences. It was like compound sentences, but I did it. Okay, fine. It's basically paramilitary group enters into the Guatemalan forest believing that they're going to rescue someone. Meanwhile, actually no, and I think there was a subclause clause about, but it is revealed that they are betrayed. Meanwhile, an alien from another planet is hunting them with the superior weapons, picking them off one by one. Finally, after all the characters are defeated, the hero, Arnold Schwarzenegger, battles the alien one-on-one and defeats him. And I think there was a line about a nuclear explosion at the end. Yeah. And that's it. Like, it's like there's nothing going on in this movie, but there's everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like you didn't do it enough justice either.
I did a better job.
That's just a plot synopsis. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, right. Like all these characters and like so many loves lost. Go on.
No, go ahead.
I'm just like, I'm looking at when Arnie's like he set up all these traps or whatever, and the predator standing, he's like, come on, and he ends up like walking around the trap.
That's part of your rules or whatever, is that the predator is not like on his first experience with the low tech bare naked assault from Arnold. He's not able to detect the traps.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not putting it together. He's not gotten down and dirty yet. He's not in the trenches yet. He hasn't.
Oh God, that's true.
He hasn't stripped himself bare yet. He hasn't abandoned his technology.
Which kind of goes to that aristocrat reading, actually. Like, he's never, he does it all with this technology, but he doesn't know how to be really savage and primal. I mean, he does, but like he's not the best at it.
No, although he does detect one of the traps, like at the very end. But
Well, and that's when it starts to get personal.
Yeah. Oh, and then he comes around. Yeah, but then he gets smushed by the other trap that was set up. Like like finally, like Arnie's not really, like, he's bloodied, but really he kind of dispatches the predator pretty easily once he figures him out. He could have lost easily for sure, but he doesn't even have a broken arm or anything. Like, he's like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not.
Sure, he was gonna squish him with a boulder.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then he doesn't, like, 'cause he kind of feels pity because he sees him like choking blood into his own face, which incidentally, I read how they got the effect of that blood, and it adds a lot to readings of this text. This movie, it's glow sticks, right? Obviously, from we might associate with rave culture or something like that.
Oh, seriously?
And it's given the consistency with lubricant.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my goodness, wow, you couldn't.
That's
So
beautiful.
that's amazing.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like club culture plus lubricant equals
Yeah, yeah.
predator.
Yeah. Or at least
Yikes.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I was gonna say, I love how this movie also it still, for all its militarism, it still like has that idea at the core that like you can't trust the people on top, and like they're selling you out, they're lying to you, they're they're gonna betray you and call you an expendable asset like Carl Weathers does.
Yeah.
Well,
you got-
the only thing you can trust are the boys.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just bros. Macho friendships.
Well, no, in this, it takes place in Guatemala, and like in '87, in the '80s in general, like the America's a little busy over there.
Yeah, a lot of covert action.
Yeah, and the Soviets are ostensibly in there, but the Americans are definitely in there.
Yeah.
And Dutch and his team are like kind of tricked into getting involved in this, like
they've got this kind of good guy logic of like, like they wouldn't have done it if they knew what they were really getting into.
Yeah.
Assassins.
And the Predator, this goes back to what you were saying, James. Like the Predator is this thing that is in Guatemala frequently. But kind of want to rewind on that because we see the alien arriving, right? So does he just do this when he thinks it's hot out? Like he's just
yes.
I'm like, I don't understand who this guy is, and like
he's keeping tabs.
Yeah,
it's a safari. Like it is, like it's a vacation.
Yeah, I really wanted to argue against him being Safari Joe. I really wanted to argue against him having a monocle. But I don't know, maybe he does have a monocle. Like I bet he
does.
I bet he's not even an aristocrat. Like he just strikes me as a piece of shit from like an advanced civilization who happens to have like a camouflage vest and a gun, and he takes an AR-15 out hunting with him because he thinks that that's sporting. And comes home, shows his wife his shitty trophy. Oh, look what I got.
And he doesn't go to Guatemala in the winter. It's shitty.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but that was I got sidetracked on that thought. Is there some way that the Predator is a metaphor, and this is a question I don't have an answer, a metaphor for like American involvement in South America? Like, 'cause she's like, it happens every once in a while, like it's sort of, there's a pattern to it, but no, not even a pattern, just like a regularity to it.
No, I more interpret that as just like world building, that these things could be out anywhere doing this, depending if the weather's warm enough.
Yeah, I don't know why they need hot.
But maybe that's just stupid too.
And is it significant that his last name is Carl Weathers? I don't know. Yeah.
So your question though, are you asking if the monster is symbolic or the movie itself?
The monster. Well, the movie itself, I think the movie trucks in that, and it gets to what Jim about, like, you don't trust the CIA. That's a good message.
It is a good message.
Okay with that.
Yeah, you don't trust the government at all.
Well, I'm not going to go that far.
If Jesse the Body taught us anything.
Yeah. Sadly, and that's so weird. Like, he's a senator. Was he a senator? No, he was a congressman. I think so. Anyway, is he still?
Yeah, Arnold was a governor.
I don't think he's anymore. He was independent.
Oh yeah.
Body?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta Google this. Oh God, he looks terrible. Actually, he doesn't look terrible. I mean, he looks great. But how old is this motherfucker?
Hey, while you're at it, you should check how old?
He's 71 now.
Oh, that's fairly young considering what he looks like.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
But steroids and cocaine take a hefty toll.
But even just taking a razor to that, like the power donut he's got going on would help.
He just looks like a far out hippie at this point, like a pretty big one, of course. So he was the governor of Minnesota. So he was the governor. Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay. So they were both governors. That's funny. Like this movie has two governors in it. Like that's gotta mean something. I don't know. I don't know what the larger significance of it, but like this movie just feels like right at the heart of the zeitgeist somehow, and it fucking radiated outwards, and brought us the world that we have today, and in a lot of ways kind of did, through conspiracy culture, through oh, sorry, I just remembered that he showed up in Ninja Turtles as like this guy hunting Sasquatch. Jesse the Body Ventura did the voice, but anyway, yeah, like and Schwarzenegger ends up governor. That's pretty much it. I was trying to go something,
Wow.
but it didn't really work out. I just think that like there's a lot here. Like one thing that we've come at through this conversation is that there's a lot in this movie, and it has a lot of actors whose careers and Shane Black is in this, like who will write, well, like I guess he'd already done Lethal Weapon, but he would do Lethal Weapon. He wrote Iron Man 3. That's significant, I would assume. There's just a lot going on here.
Sorry,
Oh my god, Shane Black.
Yeah, Shane
I
Black.
didn't really realize who he was until
Who's he
just
play?
now.
Oh, he plays
He's the pussy guy.
Oh, okay. Well, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess that's ultimately the response. It's like,
Wow.
well, that's interesting, James.
Yeah.
But
No, I didn't realize that. That's cool.
and then from the director of Die Hard, I just feel that like there's a stamp being placed down here.
Yeah, it's like a nexus of like all kinds of activity from the 80s that radiates forward into the future.
Yeah.
In strange ways.
Yeah. And whether it gave birth to the 21st century or not is maybe an open question.
It's absolutely true, but it's definitely not something we can confirm.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I guess
The most important movie of all time, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably.
It's definitely. So okay. So I think we've determined that there's Citizen Kane,
Mm-hmm.
Predator, and what else? Like that's it, right?
Yeah.
That's the short list.
Yeah,
And Citizen Kane's gonna have to fight Predator for the title.
sure.
Oh my good. Do you think Orson Welles would have been great in this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.